It's more Taser here. Taking back to Simpson theory, and this video is called the complete Homer Simpson timeline. So yeah, this is the backstory of Homer Simpson. You know, from then versus now. And yeah, man, we're about to react to this. I'm gonna take a break of reacting to Darman. You know, I'm gonna react to some other videos like this. So yeah, we're gonna react to this video. I don't know when I'm gonna come back to reacting Darman. I don't know. But anyways, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, notifications, Instagram, TikTok, Discord, Twitter. I'll put this on with the video, and let's get to the video, guys.
This video is sponsored by Audible. Homer Simpson is arguably the most iconic character.
Man, bro, he's burning the
big
house
guy
down.
Has literally done it all and has had every job imaginable.
Boxer,
yep, he had.
Astronaut, imitation Krusty, baby proofer, trucker, hippie, plow driver, food critic, conceptual artist, grease salesman, carny, mayor, grifter.
So in this video, I'm gonna chart his entire life from his birth to his many deaths. So if you want to know
bro,
how
he
Homer
has
being
died a
close
lot.
to becoming a robot, then stick around to find out.
Okay, let's get to it.
Kids are so afraid of being terminated.
This is the complete Homer Simpson timeline. As I discussed in my Bart Simpson video, The Simpsons exists in a floating timeline, meaning that Homer can be a teenager in the 70s as well as the 90s. So, because of this, I'll be going through his life by age.
Let's get to it. By
dates.
age.
And yes, before anyone says that the future episodes aren't really considered canon, but you know what? It's fun to put his entire life in order. So, with that being said, let's get started.
The Simpsons have a lot of futuristic videos.
Homer's birth. Homer J was born to Mona and Abraham Simpson, and according to Abe, Homer was an accident.
Homer's father is just,
Which is
he's a terrible father, bro.
As Homer said the exact same thing.
He's a bad
Bart.
father.
But when I do it, it's cute.
One of Homer's greatest loves, apart from beer and TV, is
Homer has a bad
food.
father, dude.
And this is pretty evident right away when we see baby Homer chowing down on some pizza.
How'd he get that?
I guess it would have been pretty inappropriate to see him drinking beer at this point.
He always drinks beer.
Age 6, crayon in his brain.
Oh yeah, I
Homer
actually
hasn't always
remember
been
that
the
too.
sharpest tool in the shed, to say the least.
Everyone.
He got a crayon stuck in his brain.
But there is a reason for this. At 6 years old, Homer shoves 16 crayons up his nose. And he sneezes out most of them, but one crayon still remains lodged in his brain. This had a serious impact on his intelligence, explaining why he did so bad
it's in
in
his
school
brain.
and in life. However, a few years later on, when he's an adult, he gets the crayon removed and is shown to be pretty smart.
Wow.
He even comes up with a formula
Looks
that
like he's
proves that
pretty
there is
smart.
no God. But when he starts to feel a bit ostracized from his friends and family, he gets the crayon inserted back into his brain.
Age 9.
Mummy the abandoner, Daddy the dream crusher. As seen in flashbacks, Mona is a loving mother to little Homie and cared for him deeply.
Yeah, she's a
However,
good
she
mother,
expressed her
but
interest
man,
in being in a loving
Homer has a
relationship
bad
with
father,
Abe.
dude. A bad
when
father.
she sees a football player with some lovely long locks, she is awakened and the power of free love ignites a fire. She soon joins a group of hippies who are protesting against Mr. Burns' germ warfare laboratory. And after setting off an antibiotic bomb in protest, the hippies flee, running over Mr. Burns. And Mona was the only one to stay behind to make sure Monty was okay, but instead of thanking her, he vowed revenge, forcing her to leave her son and go into hiding.
I actually remember this too.
Of Homer leaving him with a cold, distant
She had to leave her son here.
Had a severe impact on him. Abe was the complete opposite to Mona, readily there to crush any of Homer's dreams.
Yes, he was a bad father.
When Homer expresses his ambition to become president someday, but Abe quickly extinguished any presidential hopes by eloquently stating,
"Quit your daydreaming, melonhead!"
thus explaining why Homer is so ready to dump his father at the retirement home later on and hardly ever visits him. Homer's estranged relationship with Abe will be a running theme throughout his entire life, and in many ways mirrors his own relationship with Bart.
Age 10.
Age 10, Homer meets his soulmate.
Homer's first
Homer is
kiss.
sent off to a summer camp for underprivileged boys, but it's not all bad. There he meets his lifelong friends.
There goes
Lenny,
Lenny and
Carl,
Carl.
and Mo for the first time.
And
but
wait,
instead of doing fun
Mo.
activities like kayaking, they're instead forced to wash dishes for a girls' camp across the lake. While cleaning trays, someone accidentally drops their retainer down the chute, revealing that someone to be Marge Simpson, but at that time Marge Bouvier, who is also at the summer camp. And although they don't see each other through the flaps, the two instantly hit it off. When Marge asks Homer for his name,
Yeah, they
her
did
friends
love
joke
each
that
other.
The boy probably has a really horrible name like Homer, so he quickly changes it to say Elvis.
Elvis Jagger Abdul Jabbar.
And swept up in the mysterious magic of love, they plan to meet that night. But after Homer accidentally stabs himself in the eye with a switchblade, he is forced to wear an eye patch. Meanwhile, Marge burns her hair while shaving it with an iron.
Why
so
an eye
the two
patch,
turn up
bro?
looking completely different. And they don't actually discover that they met at this age until many years later. The two share their first ever
First
kiss
kiss.
and fall for each other. And they plan to meet the next day, but on his way back to camp, Homer falls
Man,
off a
bro,
cliff
Homer
and
got
into
hurt
the
a
lake.
lot.
The next morning, he washes
Went
up
to
in a
fat
fat camp
camp.
and imprisoned. And with no way to get back to her, Marge believes that Homer has abandoned
Oh,
her. Decades later, they
man.
discover
I
they were
remember
each other's
that.
first kiss, and that they kept the two halves of a heart-shaped stone for decades. This episode goes
Marge
to show
had
that the
felt
two were
heartbroken
always
when
destined to
Homer
be together,
had
and
left.
that they are each other's first and only love. Age 12, the Blunder years. At 12 years old, we see Homer, Lenny, and Carl are the best of friends since leaving camp.
They always been the
Thinking
best
they are
friends.
threatened by a young fat
Uh-oh.
Tony and his cronies, but Mo saves the day with his air rifle.
18 more pumps. That could break the skin.
The gang go to an old quarry and Homer jumps in, but is shocked to find that he lands in a puddle. He loosens a blockage in the pipe and causes the water to gush out, and when he looks down,
Yep.
he is horrified to find a
Yep,
rotting
there's a dead
corpse on
body.
top of him. And he proceeds to scream, and this causes a long-lasting effect on Homer, which is later reawakened by a hypnotist. And if you're interested, we later find out that the corpse was Waylon Smithers Sr., who died saving the town from an imminent nuclear meltdown.
Dang, Mr.
By
Burns
the way,
had to take
if you're
care
enjoying
of
the video, then I'd really
Smithers.
appreciate it if you subscribe to the Simpsons Theory. Only 11% of you who watch my videos are actually
Yeah,
subscribed to the
make sure to go
channel.
subscribe.
And it may not seem like a big deal, but when you click subscribe, it lets YouTube know that you like the videos and recommends my channel to more and more people. So thank you. Now back to the video.
Alright, let's get back to it.
Age 15. Do pizza.
Oh,
Box
yeah,
Room
this is a
on
new
electric
episode.
guitars. Homer is working at a Chuck E. Cheese style restaurant called Razzle Dazzle's Pizza-tainment Palace. When one of the animatronics breaks down, Homer jumps on stage to do an improv hip-hop song behind the machine, and the crowd lap it up, and so Homer gets a new job doing music for animatronics. This episode is another example of Abe being an unsupportive father.
Yeah,
When Homer
bro.
brings up his
He's
music
such a
and
bad
emotions,
father,
Abe simply
man.
says,
You're wasting your life.
much later on, Abe finally admits that his parenting wasn't the best and realizes
Yes,
that he really
it-
should have
he
encouraged his
was
son's
not a good
talents
parent.
instead of trying to suppress them.
I never listened to you. Said your dreams were ridiculous.
But as we'll see later on, Homer goes on to have a very varied and hugely successful music career. That suggests that his father's constant criticism forced Homer to work harder in order to prove him wrong.
Age 18.
Aged 18, the way we was. Now a high school senior, Homer is sent to detention for smoking, and it's here that he lies eyes on Marge.
Yep,
and
he meets
Bouvier,
Marge
with both of them
again.
not realizing that they actually met
Like
a
they
few
did
years
when they were
earlier.
10.
As children, Homer is instantly smitten by the blue-haired beauty. Later on, Homer plucks up the courage to ask Marge to prom, but she politely turns him down. But not one for giving up, he instead asks her to tutor him in French. And when she comes round, they hit it off, and Marge agrees to go to prom with him. But his romantic ambitions are shattered when he comes clean about pretending to need French lessons, getting a good old slap.
Dang.
And I don't know if it was the crayons or what, but he is pretty naive and oblivious, and he still believes he's got a date with Marge to the prom. She, however, agrees to go to prom with Artie Ziff, resulting in poor homie going to prom alone. At the prom, Marge and Homer share a quiet moment together, and he confesses that he really can't get her out of his head.
How could the only thing I've ever been sure about in my life be wrong?
Later on, Artie gets a bit too handy, tearing at Marge's dress, and he receives a well-deserved slap.
He deserved
As
it.
Homer walks alone in the road, Marge picks him up and reveals that she should have gone to prom with him. And in a really tender, sweet moment, Homer fixes Marge's torn dress with his corsage. Despite the many obstacles in their long relationship, Homer and Marge's genuine connection is the bedrock of the show. They are meant to be together, and as proved time and time again, they are ultimate soulmates.
soulmate.
Aww.
Age 21, that 90s show. Homer and Marge are now living together in an apartment. When Marge gets accepted into college,
Oh,
Homer
yeah,
has to
I
work
do
for his
remember this
father's
too.
laser tag business in order to pay for her tuition.
Man, them kids are just mean.
But when Marge starts college, she falls for her professor, ditching poor
Oh
Homer,
my gosh.
which is super harsh.
Marge
Broken-hearted,
basically
Homer
cheated
forms
on
a grunge
Homer.
band called Sadgasm. The group become insanely popular, and they even inspire Kurt Cobain to create Nirvana. Who knew?
You know that new sound you're looking for? Well, listen to this.
Marge eventually realizes that her professor is a giant tool and dumps him, admits her mistake to Homer, and they get
Go
back
back to
together.
Homer.
Homer has always had a passion for music and will experiment with lots of different genres throughout his life. And he's of course always successful at it, whether it's grunge, metal, opera, or, as we'll talk
Yeah,
about
man,
later, barbershop
he should become,
quartet.
like,
This
he's really
musical
good at
talent harks
playing
back to his
music.
humble beginnings as a choir boy.
Hi. Hey, my voice just changed.
Age 28, I married Marge. After getting hot and heavy watching The Empire Strikes Back, Marge and Homer get frisky inside a golf course castle. This night of passionate putt-putt results in pregnancy.
Poor guy.
And wanting to do the right thing, Homer pops the question, which Marge happily accepts. With no money for a big wedding, they marry in Shotgun Pete's wedding chapel. And the wedding reception is less than spectacular, spending it at a truck stop. And Homer then buys a wedding cake that reads "to a well of a wife." Not the best way to start a marriage. However, Homer does make it up to Marge eventually
Oh, yeah.
in later life
They actually
with
got
a second
remarried.
wedding, surrounded by their friends and family. Wanting to support his new family, Homer applies for any job he can get. He first gets hired and fired from Old Springfield.
You've ruined our vacation.
But after Repo Man repossesses Marge's wedding ring, this was the final straw, and Homer bursts into Mr. Burns' office and demands a job. Homer's trait of ultimately wanting to do the best for his family is a really honourable one that transpires throughout his life. And a few moments later on, he rushes to the hospital just in time to watch Bart be born. And what does the little tie
Bart
do?
Simpson.
He immediately sets Homer's tie on fire.
Man,
Did that on purpose.
he's such a bad
He's only
kid.
10 minutes old.
Age 34, Homer's barbershop quartet. As seen earlier, with his interest in hip-hop and grunge, Homer is a natural-born musician. He is now in a barbershop quartet with Principal Skinner, Barney, Apu, and not Chief Wiggum. And apart from Homer and Barney, this is a group of Springfieldians you wouldn't ordinarily see hanging out together, so it was pretty fun seeing that. After their smash hit Baby on Board becomes mainstream, the band are catapulted into stardom.
You got
They
the
travel the
pictures.
world collecting Grammys as they go. But their time in the spotlight soon fades as they give way to in-band politics, member changes and fights until the band soon splits up. At the end of the episode, the band get back together for one last time to perform on top of Moe's bar in a pretty cool moment, turtlenecks and all. Despite his big success, Homer really misses his family and could care less about the awards and would rather be back
Lisa.
at home. Age 37, and Maggie makes 3. When Homer receives a paycheck clearing him of all of his debts, he quits his job at the power plant in spectacular fashion.
That's for employing me for 8 years.
He then starts his dream job at the bowling alley and loves his carefree lifestyle. But after some snuggle time, Marge gets pregnant again and he realizes his bowling salary won't cover 3 kids. So Homer quits his job at the bowling alley and comes crawling back to Mr. Burns, quite literally. Although Homer isn't the best parent in the world, he always comes through for his family in the end, abandoning his own happiness for the sake of his loved ones. He leaves the best job he ever had to a soul-destroying dead-end job just to provide for his family. We see this again and again, like when he left his amazing life working for Hank Scorpio because his family simply didn't like Cypress Creek. At the end of the day, Homer will always do what's best for his family and not just himself.
Always best.
Age 39,
He was
the very
always
long
39.
year. Homer has crammed a whole lot in 1 year, from going into space to climbing a 20,000-foot mountain. So I could go through all of the many crazy things this guy did before he turned 40, but that itself would take over 30 years to go through, so let's just mosey on.
40.
Age 40, send in the clones. After Marge pleads with Homie to stop his gluttonous way and take better care of himself, he vows to make a change and starts by walking up the stairs, 2 steps at a time. But the overexertion causes him to have a heart attack, falling down the stairs and dying.
Yep, he had a
cut to
heart
funeral
attack.
for him at the church, but before being cremated, Professor Frink bursts in and announces that he's made a clone of Homer.
Homer
Homer
2.
is not dead. I have made a copy.
But the new clone doesn't last for long, dying the very next day after
Oh, yeah, he
consuming
did
too
die.
much potato salad, and so cloned once again and again and again. While cloning might seem very outlandish, cloning has been a very real thing in Springfield for a long time. We have seen Mr. Burns' clones many times throughout
Oh my
the show,
God.
in regular episodes. Even Mo has some.
Hey, I'm not the clone. You're the clone.
Age 46, future drama. Homer and Marge are now separated for the 100th time, but are still bickering. It turns out that
Man.
Marge divorced Homer after he blew their entire life savings
I actually
on an
didn't know they got
underwater
divorced.
home. He is of course still in love with her, but she is now dating Krusty
Ugh.
the Clown, who Homer
at
proceeds
Krusty's
to
neck.
strangle, and it seems that Marge has a real type. Now, if you don't get this joke, this is referring to the original plan that Krusty was actually going to be Homer all along, just dressed up to build a connection with Bart, and by the end of the series, Homer would then reveal himself to be Krusty the Clown. This is why, besides the obvious clown attire, they look identical. Anyway, Marge ditches the clown and gets back with Homie, and she even changes her mind about the underwater house.
Yep, she likes it.
Age 54, Lisa's wedding. While studying at college, Lisa meets a dashing English chap named Hugh. After a small rivalry, they quickly fall in love. Before long, he pops the question and asks her to marry him. But Lisa is worried about him meeting her family, who are a little rough around the edges. Speaking of which, at dinner, Hugh is shocked by their table manners, and Homer demands that he pulls his
Man, bro.
finger.
I said,
They're like
pull my
literally
finger.
eating fast.
Despite his boorish ways, Homer does attempt
And
to
Bart-
make
and Bart
Hugh
already
feel at
has a
home
beard.
by driving on the left-hand side of the road and gifts Hugh with a set of pig cufflinks that he wants him to wear for his wedding day. On the wedding day, Homer talks to Lisa about how important she is to him.
You're my greatest accomplishment, and you did it all yourself.
When Lisa notices that Homer has the cufflinks, she goes and gives them to Hugh. But when he begrudgingly accepts them, he says that they will never see her family again. Outraged, Lisa says that despite complaining about them, she ultimately loves her family. And that she can't marry someone who doesn't understand that, calling the entire
Wow.
wedding off. Homer and Lisa have always had a really special
It's
bond
like
in
when
the show,
Lisa ever,
despite being
like,
completely
go-
different from
does
each other
something,
and
she
not
just,
sharing many interests. But
like,
Homer's
quits
always
it.
tried to be a very supportive father to Lisa. He was the only one to
Yeah,
believe her about
sometimes.
Jebediah Springfield, took a second job to support Lisa's pony, sold his beloved Duff Blimp ticket so she could enter a beauty pageant, and he brought Lisa her very first saxophone.
First sax at 3 years old.
Age 59, death. Again. When exiting a food bank, Homer is gunned by the police, mistaking his sub sandwich for a gun. Although this appears to be the end of the big guy, let us not forget about his many clones, always there to save a storyline. 69, Holidays or Future Past. Homer has done the unthinkable and has given up drinking cold turkey, and he now spends his days making ships inside
Oh yeah, he
bottles.
has given up drinking.
Smash him all for one lousy beer.
A bit later on, Bart comes around with his 2 sons, Jiff and Skippy, and after Bart finds out that his ex-wife has remarried, Bart asks his father to look after the 2 boys, which Homer is only too happy to. In the episode, Homer is shown to be a really fantastic grandpa,
He
and
actually
you can
has
tell
fun
he
with
really
his-
loves spending time with his grandkids. He even helps the divide
Yeah.
between Bart and his 2 kids by explaining that they should really give him a second chance. In his later years, Homer seems to have learned from his many parenting mistakes with Bart. Homer and his son have always had a really rocky relationship, what with strangling the boy with every chance he got. But we can see Homer's consistent growth through the way he sticks up for Bart in convincing his grandchildren to give their father a second chance. Age
Alright.
70, Days of Future. Homer is once again dead for the 100th time, but this time Frank announces that he's no longer able to bring him back after using up all of his clones.
Oh, you used up all your clones, you fat, reckless fat pig.
Instead, he was able to download Homer's brain onto a flash drive. Homer now exists as a floating dismembered head on a TV screen. And after
He's like a
decades of
computer
wife
virus.
obedience, Marge is finally at her wit's end, kicking Homer out of the house. But Homer isn't just confined to a TV screen, as he is sent to a robot body so he can become mobile. A nice touch throughout these episodes is that it shows Homer still being a really great grandfather, letting them chase him around the house, babysitting, and even letting them hit him with baseball bats.
Yeah, open your stance a little there. Oh, yeah, that's it.
Aww. At the end of the episode, Homer is now an advanced golden robot, and him and Marge have finally reconciled.
That's a bit of a woohoo. Indeed.
79. Father and son healing.
Dang.
In a strange turn of events or heightened technology, Homer has somehow got his body back. Baby Frank found some more clones after all. Bart has finally got his act together and now holds one of the highest jobs in the United States.
Wow.
One senior citizen and one Chief Justice of the Supreme Court.
I love that Homer and Bart have finally reconciled after their long turbulent relationship.
I mean, they're actually getting
I'm not
along.
always feared about Bart's future, but I think this is a fear mirrored in his own insecurities, of his fear of not making anything of his life. And so feared Bart would end up the same way. After years of questionable parenting, you can see that Homer's ultimate goal really was quite a naively loving one. Finally, I'd like to thank Audible for sponsoring this video. I work a full-time job, and in my limited spare time, I write
This actually was a good video.
channel, so I don't always have the time to sit down and read as much as I want to. But with Audible, I can listen to audiobooks while I'm working and editing videos. And at the moment, I'm currently listening to 100 Things that Simpsons fans should know and do before they die by Ali Gertz and Julia Prescott. It's a really fun book and a must-have for any Simpsons fans. It's packed full of fun Simpsons trivia that have really been useful for creating these videos. And you know what? You haven't even heard the best part. Audible is giving all you saucy Springfieldians a 30-day free trial. Visit audible.com/Simpsons Theory or text Simpsons Theory to 500 to start your free 30-day trial today. Finally, I'd like to say a big thank you to my Flying Hellfish members, Timothy, who else but Zane, Liam, Tommy, Steve,
Well, that's
Charlie,
it for
Sean,
today's video.
Justin,
Hope you guys
Andre,
enjoyed
Stefan,
it.
Jake.
So yeah, man, that was the backstory of Homer Simpson. You know, like from then to now. So like, yeah, some of the videos in the future, like he's old. Some of them he's still the same age, like 39 years old. Cause like, I mean, they got different type of videos of Homer in the future, in the past, and yeah, that was the backstory of him. But anyways, make sure to like, comment, subscribe to notifications on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. I'll put those sisters on the video, and peace out.